In Greece, anti-austerity Syriza party has confirmed that after sweeping to victory in the country's election, it's to form government with fellow anti-bailouts, the Independent Greeks Party. The move Greeks living here in London didn't have a say in, and now they're not allowed to vote unless they're living in Greece. Well, here with more on this is Dr. Katherine Alexander, Chair of the Greek and Cypriot Cultural Community. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
So how are you feeling about what's unfolding?
I feel very excited. I feel very excited because for several years now, Greece has been subjected to the most atrocious cuts in the whole of the history of Europe recently, undermining its social structure, undermining the liberties of the individuals, pushing people to an edge. We had a lot of suicides, which we never had before, a lot of young people, the brain of the country, immigrating abroad because they couldn't find a job. We have over 100,000 young people coming in the last 2 years in London, working in the most abominable jobs, people cleaning streets in Enfield and other places, refuge collectors not really doing the job for which they graduated.
Right, so you're now talking about the people who've left Greece during the economic crisis from 5-6 years ago, and now they emigrated to London.
Immigrated temporarily, because every Greek has got the nostalgia of their country. They want to go back. We have a great country with a great history, the leading country in the civilization of all nations in the West. It has been the fortress against any barbaric invasion in Europe since antiquity. It has protected Europe. It has introduced the law, it has introduced the philosophy, it has introduced sciences in Europe. It also fought for the liberty of Europe, even recently during the Second World War. The Germans, who are now the leading force, economic force in Europe, they owe Greece a large sums of money because of the disaster it suffered during the war, the war debt.
Well, how are people in the Greek community here in London, how are they feeling about the fact they can only sit and watch the events that's happening in Greece and not take part in the elections?
Yes.
But maybe they should be entitled to, because they were only here.
I agree with you. I agree with you. They should be
entitled.
entitled, but they have to change the law in Greece. We have two types of Greek voters in London. We have those who are here and couldn't go back because they didn't have the money to go back, who have Greek passports, etc. And you have those of the Greeks who lived for many years abroad, and they are Greeks, and they should be given the double nationality. The Greek nation should view upon these two different people and give them the privilege to vote as Greeks, because the Greeks abroad play a very important role in the history of both Greece and Cyprus. During days of crisis, the Greeks abroad contribute either in any help they can manage, either financially by sending money to Greece, anything they can manage to reserve and send to Greece, or to demonstrations, or to lobby the European Parliament or the British Parliament or anything of the kind in order to bring the voice of the Greek people around. And I feel Greece has an obligation to give the votes to all the Greeks living abroad. So is Cyprus too.
Do you think the Syriza party, and now I guess along with the Independent Greeks Party, do you think that they could fulfil their promises and make the all-important renegotiations with the EU?
I feel that the young leader of Syriza, the present Prime Minister, Mr. Tsipras, is a man of principles. I happen to have met him in Athens, and I believe that he could try to do as much as he promised. The fact that Mr. Kamenos of the Independent Party came into a coalition is not going to make much difference, because also the leader of the Independent Party spoke many times about the faults with the banks and the corruption with the banks.
But the Independent Greeks Party, it's a nationalist party, a right-wing. They would actually try to move to leave the EU altogether, and that could indeed have repercussions for Greece and also here in the UK.
It is the will of the people if they are going to leave the EU. If they decide to leave the EU, there's going to be a referendum in Greece, and the Greek people should decide. And this party would be deciding by asking the Greek people. Unlike what happened before, that decisions were taken in the cabinet with few people, now it is the Greek people who decide. The present government is a government that could give the liberty to the Greek people to decide. Whether Mr. Kamenos or anybody is part of the government, the vast majority of the Greek people wanted a change, and they voted Mr. Tsipras, who is a very worthwhile young man, to be the leader of Greece. We needed a change. We needed a change in our history for the prosperity and for the hope of the country.